Hi, thanks so much for joining me today. My name's Kelly, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a devotional from my most recent book called New You, Stepping Out in Faith. So this book is filled with short daily devotionals. The intention is to just let us draw closer to the Lord with a handful of moments each and every day. So these devotionals really are focused on helping us get out of comfort zones, helping us break out of patterns of fear, learning to trust the Lord when life feels uncertain, really seeking His calling, His individual and unique calling on each one of our lives. And really, I believe that's when we live our life to the fullest, when we truly seek and then embrace what is God's calling for me. How is He wanting to use me in my life? How is He calling me to step out and pursue excellence, to break free from comfort zones, to avoid stagnation? How can I lean into His power in order to do that? So I'd love to just share with you one of the brief devotionals today. And in fact, I'll be sharing with you the very first one in the book. So this is day 1 of week 1, and it's called Get Out of Your Boat. The scripture reading for today comes from the book of Matthew. I'll go ahead and share that with you. Matthew 14, beginning in verse 22. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of Him to the other side while He dismissed the crowd. After He had dismissed them, He went on to a mountainside by Himself to pray. When evening came, He was there alone. But the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw Him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," He said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out His hand and caught him. "You of little faith," He said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped Him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Jesus called Peter to step out of the boat, and He calls us to step out in faith as well. Reflect on the following questions as you consider what it means to trust God and take bold steps of faith. Do you believe God calls everyone to step out in faith and do something extraordinary? Why or why not? Has He ever called you to do something meaningful, significant, or even scary? What comes to mind? So maybe in your life, you've already experienced moments that you feel like, yeah, God was calling me to do something. God was calling me to trust in some way. Maybe you're in a season in which you're sensing that right now. Maybe God is calling you to make a change that feels difficult. Maybe He's calling you to make a decision that might feel scary or uncertain. How might God currently be calling you to take a step of faith? Is He asking you to grow in ways that feel outside your comfort zone? Where might you stretch, grow, improve, or bless others? One thing I know is that God does not want us leading lives of stagnation. We are meant to grow. We're meant to improve. We're meant to flourish. So if you are in a place of stagnation, if you haven't changed or grown or noticed a difference or improvement in your life in the last number of years, then maybe it's time to really be in tune with, where is God calling me right now? What is He calling me to do? What changes is He calling me to make? Some might view Peter's walk on the water as a failure, but was it? Or was it the greater failure, or was the greater failure the other 11 disciples who didn't even get out of the boat? What does failure mean to you? When have you experienced failure in your own past? And what was the effect or outcome? What has failure prevented you from doing? something I personally noticed is that sometimes failure is a perception. Speaking with friends or others that I know, it can be really easy for a mom to feel like there's a lot of ways I failed as a mom, as a parent. I failed in my marriage. I've failed in my career. And sometimes, maybe it's these our own expectations that we place upon ourselves. Sometimes it's spots where really we have deviated from God's best for us. And so really just being aware of where are those areas of failure? Are these areas that I'm just, maybe placing upon myself? Or are these areas that maybe God did call me to something higher? In what ways does your perception of failure affect your willingness to grow, to take risks, or to act out your faith in ways that might feel scary or uncomfortable? Does fear of failure ever keep you from trying something new or setting goals? Can I just say, being, faith-based fitness is my thing. And fitness is really, my other half. Working as a personal trainer, working with women in the fitness realm, health and fitness, I see this so much. When you try and you don't achieve your goals, how often that can just in and of itself be something that prevents you from trying again. I've already tried. I didn't succeed last time. It's going to be too difficult. I know how difficult it was. And you fear the failure and therefore don't even try. But right off the bat, that sets you up for never, ever, ever taking steps forward. So maybe even notice, am I allowing fear of failure to hold me back? Jesus told the disciples to sail to the other side of the Sea of Galilee without him. What happened as they sailed? Let me read you this portion from the book of Mark. Immediately, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him while he dismissed the crowd. After leaving them, he went up on a mountainside to pray. Later that night, the boat was in the middle of the lake, and he was alone on land. He saw the disciples straining at the oars because the wind was against them. Shortly before dawn, he went out to them walking on the lake. He was about to pass them by, but when they saw him walking on the lake, they thought he was a ghost. They cried out because they all saw him and were terrified. Immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." What did he say to his disciples? Hear those words one more time. Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid. Can you apply those words to an area in your life right now? Something that you're allowing maybe fear or regret or hurt or shame or discouragement to hold you down, pull you back, keep you stuck. But Jesus wants to walk alongside you. He wants to give you the strength and the power and the capability to do things that you can't do on your own. So hear him say to you, it's I, take courage. Don't be afraid. Try something new. Step out of your boat. Step out in courage. Grow, improve, stretch. Imagine Jesus saying these words to you right now. What situations, problems, storms, or anxieties are you experiencing where hearing those words would bring you comfort and courage? He knows you. He's walking alongside of you. And then not only that, he wants you to experience the greatest power that you have in him. Fan into flame the power that you have in the Holy Spirit, which gives you a spirit of power and self-discipline, not timidity. What was Peter's response to Jesus when he told the disciples who he was? Right? So when Jesus says, it's I. And what was significant about his response? No, Peter didn't just get out of the boat right away, although it seems like something Peter might do, but he didn't. First, he wanted reassurance of Christ's presence. And then he wanted to know that Jesus thought that stepping out of the boat was a good idea. Jesus, if it's you, tell me to do this. With this assurance, Peter followed Jesus' voice. So even though he doubted and he began to sink, Jesus grabbed him by the hand and returned him to the boat. And then we'll see what happened after that. But just to say, note, he first says, Jesus, are you there? Okay? Whatever it is in your life, Jesus, and just beginning of the day, Jesus, are you with me in this situation? Jesus, will you guide my steps? I lift this up to you. I lift this health journey up to you. I lift trying to break this habit. I lift trying to set these goals. I lift it up to you. Are you there? Will you walk with me? Will you show me the next step in wisdom that I can take? And then, we see Peter began to doubt. He began to sink. Jesus gets him back to the boat. And what happened after that? After that, the impact was that the disciples said, truly, this is the Son of God. They see his power. They experience his presence all the more. And that's what Jesus is going to offer to you. Hey, bring me into your struggles and experience my presence all the more deeply than you would have if you hadn't sought me out, if you hadn't stepped out of the boat, if you hadn't asked, hey, are you there? Will you guide my steps? Will you give me that encouragement? We too have the opportunity to walk with Jesus in places we'd never go on our own. You have the opportunity to reach goals you could never reach on your own, to do things you could never do on your own. There are numerous ways he may call each one of us to get out of our boat and walk with him. Will you stay in the security of your boat like the other 11? Never to go out on our own? Or never to step out as Peter did? Or will you take the risk and step out like Peter, allowing God to use you in extraordinary ways? And so I'm going to encourage you to close in prayer. Spend time with the Lord after this. Ask him to show you where he's calling you to make changes, to take action, or to step out of your comfort zone. Pray for the courage to trust him and to follow him where he leads. I'm just going to close with a verse from Proverbs. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So thank you for joining me today from this first reading in my book, New You, Stepping Out on Faith. You can grab a copy on Amazon. Otherwise, just stay tuned for future readings, and I'll see you next time.